The anime started with Satou. He's on top of a branch trying to catch a beetle, but as he reaches out his hand, a weird light shines in the forests. He is so surprised he falls out of the branch. He walks towards the source of light and he gets to a clearing where the light source is coming from. A man holding a staff and a girl emerge from the light, and the boy thinks they must be aliens coming to invade Earth. The girl walks forward and asks for Satou's name, and since she's a cutie, he stutters while telling her. She tells him he has an odd name and she introduces herself as Hime no Kana. She tells him he can't tell anyone what he just witnessed and she begs him to forget about it. She tells him she would be his friend in return. They shook hands and Satou had a strange feeling about her. He felt like his life was meant to protect Hime. Satou then wakes up from that memory of the moment when he met Hime. It's been 10 years since they met each other, and since then they have been neighbors and best friends. Hime is the one who woke him up and they exchange morning greetings, and she tells him his breakfast is ready. She prepared a feast for him, and he asked her if it wasn't too early for such a heavy meal. She tells him school would be out after that day, so she woke up excited. Hime and Satou have been friends since they were kids, and she moved next door about 10 years ago. She lives with her grandpa in the apartment. Satou looks at her and tells her she has changed a lot since they started high school together. He tells her she used to keep a low profile, and she tells him that made her stand out even more with her blonde hair. She tells him after all she's a princess and she needs to be strong. Satou asks her what she means since she has been saying it for years since they met, but she doesn't answer. Satou finishes his breakfast and they walk out of his apartment. Hime greets her grandpa who is watering his flowers, and Satou greets him as well, and they head out. On the way, Hime asks Satou if his dad won't be coming home yet, and he tells her he probably won't till the end of the summer break. She tells him he has a rough life, but he tells her he's getting used to it. Satou stares at her necklace, which has 2 rings on it. He remembers asking her about it when they were kids, and she told him she'll give one to whoever she marries. She tells him they should get married when they grow up. Satou keeps staring at them and Hime notices. She tells him he can't have them because they are very special to her. She keeps walking, but Satou stops for a while, sad that he got scammed by her childhood promise. She looks back and tells him they need to hurry up or they'll be late. This jolts him back to reality and he hurries to catch up. Hime class just had their final results released and some of her classmates aren't too happy with theirs. Hime shows off her results with an excellent grade and her classmates praise her for being very smart. She tells them a princess has no choice but to be smart, and they tell her she's talking about being a princess again. Satou's friend is dejected that he'll be alone during the summer break. He tells Satou he doesn't have to bother about that because he's so lucky that he got a girlfriend. Satou doesn't understand what he means and he puts his hands on Satou's shoulders menacingly. He tells him he sees him coming to school together with Hime every day. Satou tells him they're just neighbors and his friend tells him he shouldn't get comfortable with just being friends. He tells him he needs to make a move now before it is too late. Satou receives a message and he zones out of the one-sided conversation as he checks his phone. Hime texted him telling him they should go to the summer festival together after school. She gives him the time and location to meet and he wonders why she texted him. Later in the day, Hime is waiting at the location when Satou runs up to her. They move to the festival location and Hime gets so excited. She asks Satou if he remembers when they came to this festival as kids and got lost. She remembers how he held her hand throughout so they didn't get separated. She tells him he was her hero back then and he asks her if he still isn't her hero. She tells him time will tell and they keep walking. Hime stops at a stall to get a cute sausage. She eats it as they walk through the festival grounds and Hime spots a plushie she wants. She tells Satou to play the game and get it for her. Satou pays the stall manager and plays the shooting game. He's no longer fine with the status quo and he uses every fiber of his being as he makes the shot to get Hime's doll. Hime is completely overjoyed. Later at night, they leave the festival grounds to explore a nearby hill. Hime stands staring at the night sky and Satou summons the courage to tell her what he's been dreading to say all this while. He tells her he's in love with her, but the sound of fireworks cuts him off. Hime looks at them and tells him they are beautiful. She tells him there's something she hasn't been able to tell him for a while and Satou cannot believe his ears. He thinks the feeling of love is mutual, but she tells him she's going to be moving and Satou is heartbroken. He asks her when she will be leaving and she tells him she'll be leaving the next day for her grandpa's homeland, which is very far away. They return to their apartments and Hime thanks him as she opens the door to hers. Satou wants to say something to her but she cuts him off, thanking him for allowing her to watch the fireworks with him. He asks her if there's no way to make her stay and she tells him there isn't. She tells him goodbye and rushes into her apartment, shutting the door. Satou wonders where Hime is going, which is so far away. Satou lays in his bed. Looking back, he realizes he doesn't even know anything about home, including the day he met her. Suddenly, the night lights up and Satou rushes out of his apartment to see a similar light to the one he saw 10 years ago. He now remembers something strange happened that night. Hime stands in front of the light and she's about to walk in when Satou comes screaming her name. He tells her not to go, but she tells him since he remembers then he must understand. She tells him she's not necessarily moving but she's going back to a different world to get married, and Satou is shocked to hear this. She tells him she's indeed a princess and she has to do it. He tells her to wait, but she tells him goodbye and walks into the light. Satou runs forward, screaming her name and trying to stop her, but he's too late. He stands there wondering why he came to the light source. He concludes there is no point thinking about that as he rushes and enters the light as well. Satou opens his eyes and sees he's in the middle of the wedding ceremony. One of the guests notices him and they wonder if he followed Hime. The priest is about to seal the wedding with a kiss when he also notices Satou. He asks him who he is, but Satou just shouts out Hime's name. She turns back to look at him and her groom asks her who Satou is. Suddenly, a black dragon bursts through the window and the groom tells him to stand back. Her grandpa tells everyone they were right to hide the princess in the other world because abyssal creatures are after her. He leaps forward to join a couple of soldiers to face the dragon. Satou is surprised to see him and he calls out to him. Hime's grandpa asks him what he's going there, but while he's distracted, the dragon takes a swat at him, knocking him into the wall. Hime's grandpa knows they'll need the Ring of Light. He calls Hime by her real name, which is Crystal, and tells her to give the ring to the prince. The dragon bears down on Satou and Crystal realizes he's in danger and she yanks the rings off her necklace. She rushes to Satou and plants a kiss on his lips which makes them glow. She gives one ring to Satou and puts the other on her finger and they glow brightly. Her grandpa asks her what she has done and her groom is mad and he incurred wedding expenses for nothing. He puts it aside and tosses his sword to Satou, who catches it. He's hyped as wielding a real sword and he asks the groom what he should do with it. The black dragon stands directly behind him and Crystal tells him to look out. The ring on his finger glows and the sword lights up. The dragon lunges at him and though Satou doesn't know what he's doing, he knows he must bring down the dragon. He swings his sword and an arc of light emanates, slicing the dragon in two, but he collapses right after. He wakes up the next morning to see Crystal by his side and he asks her where they are. She tells him he's in the royal couple's bedroom and he's taken by surprise. She asks him if he remembers what happened, especially the kiss. He remembers everything and he's convinced that Crystal likes him. She tells him she was supposed to marry the prince, but she didn't know him and didn't want to marry a stranger. She tells him since she saw a familiar face, she went for him. She tells him she accidentally chose him to be their hero and she apologizes. In another room, the guests tell the prince their emperor will be mad when they hear his son didn't marry the princess. The prince tells them the princess had the right to choose the hero who would save their world. Crystal's grandpa walks in with Satou and Crystal. He tells the officers he gave them an audience with Satou since they wish to see him, but others need to see him as well. He tells Satou to follow him as he opens the door to a platform over a huge audience. An announcer introduces him and Crystal's grandpa tells him to say something as people chant his name. Crystal's grandpa tells him he's their greatest hope and he shouldn't let them down. Satou summons courage only to tell them he's their new ring king, screaming like a wuss, but the people eat it up cheering him on. Later, Satou is taking a hot bath and he thinks he let things get into his head. Crystal walks in and Satou asks her what she's doing there. She apologizes for giving him the ring and dragging him into her business. He tells her it'll be fine since they are on summer break and he's chosen by the Maiden of Light. He asks her if she needs to remain in that world and she tells him she has no choice. He tells her since she's staying, he'll also stay even if he's from another world. He tells her since the monster came after her and the ring and he's the only one who can stop such monsters, he'll always stay by her side. She tells him royal weddings are just for show and he doesn't have to take it so seriously. He tells her even if she picked him on impulse it makes him really happy. A warning bell goes off as the city gets attacked by monsters from the abyss. Satou and Crystal put on their clothes and joins up with the guards protecting the door of the castle. They tell them about the monsters and ask for Satou's help. Crystal tells them Satou doesn't know how to fight, but her grandpa tells her he needs to fight as long as he wears the ring. Satou tells them he will help them and they give him an axe. Crystal's grandpa tells him the ring repels evil, grants him strength, and gives him the ability to purify whatever he holds. He tells him it creates weapons perfect for destroying monsters of the abyss. Satou axe starts glowing and he tells Crystal he will do everything he can to protect her world because he knows how much it means to her. She kisses him and tells him to go forth and defeat the enemies. He tells her he will do that and come back to her. That brings the episode to an end. Thanks for watching. Want next part? Subscribe the channel and turn on notification bell.